But let's go across now to Priyanshi. He's got the latest on the GDP growth numbers out for the latest quarter. Priyanshi, what are the big headlines here?
Well, Sonia, some concerning figures there. India's GDP growth rate has sharply slowed. Let's tell you how much and how to really read those numbers. Quarter 2 GDP growth rate is at 6.2%. It is down from 8.2% that was reported in quarter 2 last year. If we compare it with the last quarter, that was quarter 1 of the current financial year, the growth rate is almost half of the 13.5% rate that was reported in quarter 1. Now, what are the pain points and the points dragging the GDP growth? Number one, GDP growth is primarily dragged by manufacturing, mining and the coring sector. These are the only two sectors, in fact, that have witnessed a fall in the value that they add to the economy, which we call the gross value added. The gross value added by the manufacturing sector has shrunk 4.3% from the value that the sector added in quarter 2 last year. Number two, remember that this quarter the economy was hurt by global supply disruptions, high inflation across countries, interest rate hikes across central banks after the Ukraine war. So the impacts of that are being clearly seen, especially on the manufacturing sector. Now, thirdly, last quarter there was a low base effect at play as the GDP was being compared from an economy that was hurt by the pandemic. So the GDP growth rate was inflated because of a low base. But this time the GDP growth is being compared to a quarter that wasn't significantly affected by the pandemic. As you can see, last quarter was compared with quarter 1 financial year 2021, that was minus 23.8, which then went up to 20.3, and then it was 13.5. But this quarter is being compared with quarter 2 financial year 2022 that had a growth rate of 8.2%. So this slowdown was actually expected because of all of these reasons. The Reserve Bank's own estimate for this quarter was exactly this, 6.3%. And there are sectors that have shown growth as well. Private expenditure, fixed capital formation have both grown by 10%. The quarterly GDP value is now 6% above the pre-pandemic levels. It's 38.1 lakh crore from 35.8 lakh crore in the same quarter in 2019. It's also important to mention here that India is still the fastest growing economy globally, as China reported a growth rate of 3.9% in the July-September quarter, lower than India. The government has said that the figures reassure that the GDP is on track to grow between 6.8% to 7%. Let's listen in to the reaction.
So overall, real GDP growth in 22-23 is on track to be at the range of between 6.8 to 7%. Just as it happens when manufacturing sector picks up, services sector activity also follow in general, and this is the kind of positive bandwagon effect that will come through.